A long-running legal dispute between a former Sioux City Community School superintendent, the district, and 4 former members of the school board is now in the hands of the Iowa Supreme Court. Court records show Iowa's highest court heard oral arguments Tuesday in the case of Dr. Paul Gosman versus Sioux City Community School District, Dan Greenwell, Jan George, Taylor Goodvin, and Bob Michelson. Now, those 4 people were members of the Sioux City Community School District's board of directors at the time of the conduct at issue, but only Michelson remains on the board today. Back in April of 2024, a Woodbury County judge ruled in favor of Gosman, claiming that Greenwell had not acted in good faith by setting up a closed-door meeting of the school board that went beyond the stated purpose of evaluating Gosman's professional competency. It awarded $500 in damages plus $52,000 in attorney fees. Greenwell appealed that ruling, with Gosman also appealing the judge's ruling that a second closed-door board meeting also violated Iowa State Code. The justices will now consider both appeals and issue a ruling in the case later this year.